for this slate. And what you can do with those player props on Noah's Advantage is you can take them, put them into your own parlay style multiplier ticket. You can take 2 props, you can take 3, 4, 5 props. You can put them on the same ticket, and then you get a certain style of payout. And obviously, the more props you put on your ticket, the bigger the payouts get. So that's what we're going to be discussing here. We're going to be looking at some top props here using the free projections from over on Stokastic.com to help guide us. Trying to get some picks for you guys that'll hopefully win you some money on this NBA slate. And if you're new to Noah's Advantage, there's a couple different ways to play there. There's the versus the house contest, which we'll be talking about here, but there's also the pick'em contest, where it's just more of a DFS style offering. You're building out lineups using the props from the site. You're assigning those props different values, and then you're going to put that lineup into a contest against a bunch of different people, playing for big prizes. So that's more of the DFS style offering on Noah's Advantage. But here, right now, in this video for Odd Shopper, we're going to be talking about the versus the house contest. So smash that like button, subscribe to the Odd Shopper YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. And last thing, if you're new to Noah's Advantage, you can use promo code Stokastic for a free $100 match deposit bonus right off the top. You deposit $100, they match it with a free $100 bonus. That's promo code Stokastic. Really recommend checking that out right now. It's a great way to check out the site. It's a great way to build your bankroll. Just get that free bonus money. So promo code Stokastic will get you set up there. Let's dive into these props. Got a decent little slate like we do every Sunday here for NBA. NBA is not scared of going up against the NFL. They don't care. They'll put 8 games on the slate for us. Let's start with Atlanta Hawks. There's a couple props I actually like from this game. And the props that are from this game as well. They're projecting out strong for us. So again, we're leaning on those projections from Stokastic. And obviously on the road here with the Atlanta Hawks, taking on the Clippers, maybe a little bit of a slower paced game here. Clippers are 4th in points allowed, but we're going to start with an over here for the Atlanta Hawks. And John Collins, we're going to go over 9.5 rebounds. Like this line quite a bit. We got a close point spread here. We've got a team in the Clippers. Maybe don't want to run up and down the floor so much as some other teams that Atlanta may be matching up against. It's really not a good idea to do that with the Hawks, considering the guards they have anyways. So 9.5 rebounds for John Collins. We're going to take an over here. The Clippers also aren't the greatest rebounding team in the league, so they're only 21st in terms of rebounds allowed. So they do allow quite a few rebounds to opposing teams as well. You know, obviously a little bit of injury issues that going on there, just in terms of what they've missed, and you know, from the season. It looks like Kawhi will be in the lineup today, but we're talking John Collins here, so more just a down the paint kind of thing. The Clippers really haven't been that good in the rebounding department. You got John Collins just in terms of a player should be seeing a lot of floor in this game. I think this is actually a pretty solid matchup for him to just see a ceiling in minutes. He's pushed average 38 minutes per game over his last 2 starts as well. And just you look at the rebounding department, did go under this in his last game, but the games before that, 12, 13 rebounds. So John Collins, I like this as kind of a ceiling spot for him. Our projections like it quite a bit as well. This is one of our strongest overs on the slate. Over 9.5 rebounds. Let's start there. Let's stick with this game, though, and let's throw in an under in terms of the Atlanta Hawks. And I mentioned, you know, like the Clippers, maybe not the greatest rebounding team, but they are a pretty stout defensive team. And I think it's a good spot to potentially fade a Hawk or 2 in the point department. And our projections like fading Trae Young the most. It's got a 27.5 point prop up here on Noah's Advantage. We have this projected as a very solid under. Now, Trae Young's been pretty good of late. He's had a couple 30-point performances, so nothing against the player. His form is pretty good, but you look at what Trae Young does this year as well. His field goal attempts very up and down. You know, if you catch him on the right night, yeah, absolutely, you could get 24 shots, you could get, 30 shots, but there's a lot of nights here for Trae Young where, 15 field goal attempts, that's just not going to get it done. This is almost feels like buying the top. If you're taking the over here on Trae Young at 27.5, we've certainly seen this prop total on him be much closer and be at 25.5. So a bit of a slower pace matchup here potentially as well with the Clippers. Like I said, they should have Paul George and Kawhi on the floor. Always makes for a little bit of a tougher matchup when those two are there. Trae Young projecting as a really solid under for us at 27.5 points. So we're going to take that there. Again, Clippers solid defensively in terms of points allowed, 4th in the league. So I really don't have any qualms going under on Trae Young in this one. Could Trae Young burn us for a big game? He could. But like I said, he's gone under this total far enough in recent events, and just this.
Did you get a lot of LeBron last night?
I had a fair bit.
Good. All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Sunday with a little NBA deeper dive / live before lock. We're doing 1 hour. We got 6 games. We're going up against week 18, the afternoon games. We've got potentially playoffs on the line tonight for the NFL. We've got Green Bay going against Detroit. It all depends on my Seattle Seahawks. What are they going to do?
Definitely Green Bay. Definitely Green Bay has a shot at the playoffs. It's whether or not both teams will have a shot at the playoffs.
Yes. So it could be a meaningful game, or it could be someone trying to play spoiler here, but not to fear. No House Advantage not only has you covered for NBA, but they're going to bring you NFL Live Before Lock. So we've got all the good stuff for you guys today. We've got, we'll kind of keep things on task. 6 games means we got about 8 minutes per game here, plus a few questions. We'll talk about some free stuff, but hit that like as you come on in. It always helps us out here. We are 85,500 subscribers. So if you subscribe, that would be awesome as well. You hit that notification bell and you get a little alert on your computer or your phone every time we go live. And boy, are we going live a lot. It is a lot of stuff here to talk about as we head into NFL playoffs. We've got NBA in full swing, NHL, the PGA started up, MMA restarts this weekend, college basketball, you got the national championship game, the playoff games, all the exciting stuff here. This is the place to be.
Badminton, synchronized swimming, yes. Let's see, tiddlywinks, always a riveting sport there. Always a riveting sport. But let's slide on in here, Matt. We're going to go game by game. We've got a couple at 6, and then we got some at 7, and then the rest of the slate kind of works itself out. But leading us off here, we've got the Utah Jazz at Memphis. Hopefully we'll get to circle back with news on this one. I believe we are... Yes, indeed. We are still waiting on news about Ja Morant, which, of course, could throw a wrench into everything. Luka Doncic already resting tonight because Dallas is on the back-to-back. You have Ja Morant dealing with a sore thigh, and you have Steven Adams with a non-COVID-related illness. Memphis does play again tomorrow, so we'll have to see. But in the event that Ja is out, we, of course, are going to want to get Tyus Jones in there. Windmill slam dunk time for him. I'm based on the -8.5 point. I'm thinking they think that Ja is going to play, but we'll see. On the other side, Talen Horton-Tucker is out. He sprained an ankle last night, and then Colin Sexton dealing with I forget if it's groin or a hamstring. It's a hamstring. He's going to miss at least 1 more game. So take it away from there. This is a back-to-back here for the Jazz. They lost last night in Chicago. Yeah, Jazz have been a solid fantasy team all year. They are pretty solid offensively, and they give up a ton of points on the other end of the floor. So usually they are playing in a game with a pretty high total. This tonight's game, no exception, 236.5, highest total on the slate. The problem is that nobody on the Jazz side really stands out as a particularly good DFS value tonight. Lauri Markkanen's been their best player all year. He's been a good fantasy producer, averaging 1.21 DraftKings points per minute. But he's up to 9,300. That is about as expensive as we've seen from him all season. And it's probably a bit too much. He's shown that he can still get us, 50 plus, 60 plus even on occasion. But I think in a vacuum, 9,300 is probably a little bit too much to be paying for this guy, especially against Memphis, who is a solid defensive team. I think that the best value on Utah is probably Mike Conley at 5,900. Conley has played some solid ball since he's returned to the lineup. Last game, only 23 DraftKings points, but he's got at least 31 in 3 of the prior 4. Averaging 1.92. I'm sorry, 1.92 would be insane. 0.92 DraftKings points per minute this season.
Step aside, Giannis. You two, Jokic, Doncic, take a chair. I am the captain now. That's
it's
what
Mike Conley.
1.92 points. Yeah.
So he stands out as a decent option at 5,900. I think Jared Vanderbilt is playable at 5,300.
The minutes aren't always there for him, but he's typically very productive when he's on the floor. So Utah, despite the total, not a team that I'm getting a ton of exposure to right now. It's Conley, it's a little bit of Vanderbilt, and maybe just a sprinkling of Markkanen.
All right. Yeah, that's kind of about where it is. There are some other spots that are really more appealing this evening. These guys, especially on the Utah side, they'll kind of work their way into our lineups. It's not like we're going to push them out by any stretch. Kind of similarly goes with Ja Morant, but that's if he does play, then that's a decision point between him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Trey, Ice Trey, as we like to call him, because he is ice cold sometimes in the box.
He's no Kenny Ice Pickett.
Yeah, especially when you look at his rebounds, career low 2.9. Yikes. That's scary. That's scary that he's that low. But we've got just a few interesting other options there that work their way into more intriguing spots. I see someone asking, we did just get news that it looks like we got news there that I'm trying to verify it, that Adams is going to be out tonight. Brandon Clark is still out. I didn't mention his name. He's been out for a few days with a hip issue. But we should be getting some Ja Morant news. So we'll circle back on that one when it does happen, since we are going up to lock, and that is the first game. We also have one other game that's going at 6 o'clock. So we're starting to get some information there on that one. It does look like Bam Adebayo is going to play. He's dealing with a bruised ass, which is what I put on the run sheet because I thought it was funny. I don't know if Chris noticed that, but it was there. I believe it's his left posterior is the official designation. Tyler Herro was a little bit sore back spasm type issues. He is going to be available. Caleb Martin is out. He missed the last game. He's been dinged up a little bit with a quad. He just never seems to stay healthy. Well, none of the Miami people seem to stay healthy. And then, of course, Gabe Vincent is going to be available. So it kind of looks like all hands on deck. Nobody missing from Brooklyn here. This could be kind of a fun game to watch if we weren't busy watching football. Talk to me here with what you see. 223.5 implied point total here. Brooklyn favored by a bucket down there in Miami.
Yeah, who could have seen it coming? The Heat listing a player as questionable on the injury report. That was always going to play. That's how I interpreted it, at least. They've gotten to the point where you just cannot take their injury reports seriously at all. But we'll start with Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn's been really freaking good recently, starting to play like the team that everybody expected them to be when they got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And this is a slate where I think both of those guys are usable. It's definitely a stars and scrubs type of slate. We have a ton of value to choose from, almost unlimited value at this point. But the number of studs that we have is pretty slim, especially if Ja ends up sitting, that's even more value and even one less stud. So I think KD at 10-2, Kyrie at 8-7, both guys fine, in my opinion. They're not my favorite studs on this slate, but certainly guys that have ceilings that we can fit around, a big time value slate. The guys that stand out as my favorite targets from just a points per dollar perspective, Ben Simmons, continuing to sort of turn things around after being left for dead last year, but 1.08 DraftKings points per minute over the past month. 5,600 is just not a expensive enough price tag for him. Royce O'Neal, another decent guy at 4,300. I don't think we need to go there tonight. There's so many other strong value plays to choose from that O'Neal at 4,300 is kind of getting left behind a little bit for me. But I think, again, that's a too cheap of a price tag for him overall. Just in the, the dynamics of this slate, it's hard to play a $4,300 Royce O'Neal when you have other guys who are popping as better cheap plays.
All righty. That is going to, again, this is one of those where when everybody's back to being healthy, it's not as exciting of a game. Competitive, yes. Can people get there? Absolutely. Who is it going to be? I don't know. That's the hard part, right? That's the interesting thing when you have when you have DFS NBA, because these guys are also good. I mean, we've never seen the league quite as stacked as it is now with players. They actually are ready to do expansion. I, of course, was watching basketball way back in the day, but they overexpanded too quickly in the late 80s, early 90s, and kind of really diluted the talent. I think they could easily have 2 more teams right now.
Vegas needs a team, baby.
I want the Seattle Supersonics back, but we shall see.
Both. There you go. There's your 2 cities.
not that I'd really watch them unless they were on East Coast swings at this point. But yes, John Morant is going to be out. Let's circle back on that one. Almost perfect timing. I should have reversed those games. Almost perfect timing for us. Let's talk a little John Morant. So he's out. We know Adams is out. We know immediately that Tyus Jones is going to be the play. Desmond Bane increases his usage. He's going to be the secondary facilitator, arguably the more efficient scorer than Dylan Brooks. But this means Dylan Brooks says, "Guys, I got this."
There's no arguably about that.
What do we want to do now that we do have the Memphis news? Let's just reset on the show here.
Yeah, I mean, the whole team is in play, basically, with Ja and with Steven Adams unavailable. The big men were already looking like strong values. You've got Xavier Tillman, who's priced at 3,200, basically the minimum. He's going to be locked into, around 20 minutes with no Steven Adams, and he's shown plenty of potential to pay off his salary in that kind of playing time. And Santi Aldama should play more at 3,600. And now with Ja out, we can add in everybody else, right? Jaren Jackson already should have seen a few extra minutes without Steven Adams in the lineup. He's seen the biggest usage bump with Ja off the floor this season, averaging 1.51 DraftKings points per minute. So Jackson is a guy that we always play for his per minute efficiency, and he's going to be even more efficient than usual with the team's current roster. Desmond Bane also gets a big bump. He sees a usage bump of 4.4%. Dylan Brooks is at 5.3%. I bet you couldn't have seen that coming, EMac. But Desmond Bane, 4.4% usage bump, 1.27 DraftKings points per minute. And Brooks is at 1.03 DraftKings points per minute. So all these guys stand out as very strong plays. Of course, Tyus Jones is usable as the likely starting point guard as well. I think that they now have 6 legitimate DFS options to consider tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be our building blocks here. That is going to be the way it goes. We'll let you guys know they're rerunning projections right now to incorporate for this news. So we'll have that when the dust settles a little bit here. I see Kenny Smith asking you, where can I find help? Where can we find help with FanDuel? Well, you can here. I'm playing FanDuel tonight. I'm playing FanDuel and Yahoo. No DK for me. I've kind of switched over to FanDuel just to get a new wrinkle in on the old NBA here. I tell you, the tools that we have here at Stokastic are absolutely phenomenal. It's sort of all the concepts remain. The only thing we have to change a little bit here on FanDuel is that you need to be cognizant of the fact that there is only one center that we can play. But then FanDuel added multi-position eligibility this year, and they've actually been even more relaxed with it this season as well. So while centers are typically our best point per dollar players, we've always been able to play 2 on Yahoo where they have flex and on DK where they have the flex. Well, now we can most of the time play 2, not always. Every now and then
3.
FanDuel make it a little tough. They haven't gone completely overboard here with the multi-position eligibility, but that's something that's worthwhile. But you guys can get in multiple ways. You can get in for free Stokastic. You can do the Stokastic Hall of Fame. You finish top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 players or more. Go to stokastic.com/avatar, and you can download the Stokastic avatar, upload that to your DFS site of choice. When you have a great win like that, tweet to Stokastic HOF, and you're going to get 30 free days if you meet the requirements. We celebrate all wins, big and small. So if you just have wins you want to share, put that the Stokastic Hall of Fame as well. You'll get your shout outs. That's a way to get in for free. But we also have a free 5-day trial for our NBA product. That's below us here. That can give you some FanDuel information. You can check that out in the description here. And then, of course, we have 2 or 3 free articles in front of the paywall. That's why they're free. They're in front of the paywall. But those talk about DraftKings and FanDuel. I write the DFS picks / building blocks article every day. We throw out a few FanDuel tips and tricks there. So there's plenty of FanDuel out there. It's a good time. It's a good time. You know what's better than free? Well, almost better than free? Overlay. Am I right? Overlay. It's delicious. It's just add a little seasonings and boy, we can sustain ourselves off that. You got to monetize it, but No House Advantage is bringing you guys overlay. And that's the important thing to remember. So if you go in through the link below us here in the description, No House Advantage will give you a up to $100 deposit match on your first deposit. So 100% match. You put in 10, they give you 10. You put in 50, they give you 50. Put in 100, they give you 100. Put in 200, they give you 100 because it's a $100 deposit match. So that is helpful. We have free projections for both of their game formats available for us. I'm going to drop the link to that. It's on one handy to look at page. We can do the pick'em projections. That is where we are going against other gamers. That is the peer versus peer games. That's where they are giving all of the overlay. That is their tournaments. Essentially, you select 10 of their props is usually what it is on basketball. They're doing NFL tonight, though it'll be a 7-question card, but you select over, under, and then assign a confidence point. You can use each player once, but you assign confidence points on that. If you get that right, those points are added up. That's how you compete against the other gamers. But we've got all that broken out for you on the one of the tabs that I just dropped in for you on the far tab on the right. That covers the optimal lineups. We've gone through and said, what are the best probabilities? Let's put those in order for you. Let me put all 10 of these in order. We've made a couple hundred of those. So you guys, you want to go straight to there. And then we have the versus the house contest. So this is where, you don't have sports wagering in your state, or even if you do, go check out No House Advantage. 1, you get a good deposit bonus, as I mentioned. And 2, you build out parlay cards, 2, 3, 4, or 5. The more props you put on your card, the higher payout. Go 5 for 5 on your 5 cards, and you get 21x. That's the highest payout in the business. But we have free projections there as well. We're looking at the overs here as a pretty good bet for Lauri Markkanen on his rebounds. Same thing on DeJounte Murray, as well as the under on DeAndre Ayton's rebound. So you can build. I prefer building 2 and 3 leg parlays when I'm doing these sorts of things. Yes, it's fun doing the 5 and the 6 leg ones, but it takes a while to win those, right? And you can get a little frustrated. The 2 and the 3 leg, you got a better chance. I like the dopamine hit of actually winning. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Anything else to add, Matt, or shall we dive into our next 4 games?
Let's circle back to Miami, since I don't know if we ever actually got to
we
them
didn't ever actually get down to brass tacks. We made the joke about Bam's bruised bum. We've got Hero is available. Everybody's available. Butler, the whole gang, they're all here. What is that going to do with mad scientist Eric Spoelstra in the lab?
Yeah, I don't think they're not a team that you want a ton of exposure to. I mean, the one guy who's out that matters really is Caleb Martin. I still think Victor Oladipo stands out slightly because of his absence. He should be locked into, around 30 minutes. And Depot's been playing pretty well recently. He's got at least 28 in 4 straight games. So I don't mind him. But other than that, there's really not a ton to like about this game. Honestly, when there's so many teams that are dealing with key absences, it's hard to play a team that is at full strength.
Yeah, that's at the end of our existence, because we don't get the coveted value. We don't get the points per dollar that makes our hearts sing with joy. Very, very important. Very, very important. All righty, now game 3. So game 3 here, this is the big important one. So we did this after the break. We've got the Dallas Mavericks going into Oklahoma City. It's a back-to-back for Dallas. Luka Doncic is out. This is kind of the injury maintenance. I think he played 37 or 38 minutes last night. He's been dealing with a tender ankle for a large portion of the season. We do know a lot of times Dallas does give their players nights off on back-to-backs, though not always. So he is out. Dorian Finney-Smith remains out. He's got a strained groin. And then Josh Green
I don't think he's ever play. He's been out for at least a month. He's not going to play tonight either. On the other side, we have Alexei Pokusevsky is out with his leg injury. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl's out with his leg injury. Jalen with a Y, so front court Jalen dealing with the left ankle sprain. There's still lots of decent players there for the Thunder. And Dallas, just as a matter of course, still going to play at a slower pace. But I think this one being in Oklahoma City, they can kind of dictate things as they want here. How do you want to approach this? Let's start off with the visitors. It's going to be Spencer Dinwiddie is popping. Christian Wood is popping. Tim Hardaway Jr. is the elder statesman. He's the one that says, yo, Dylan Brooks, let me show you how it's really done here when one of your superstars out. What do you got from the Mavs here?
Yeah, so let's start with Christian Wood. He was somebody that I liked yesterday on my last show with Greg, and he gave us 42 and a half DraftKings points in 24 minutes. It was a weird sort of slate against the Pelicans team that was missing like 100 players. So Christian Wood really wasn't needed in that game. They will need him tonight. He has seen a pretty substantial usage bump with Doncic off the floor, 4.1%. He's averaging 1.33 DraftKings points per minute in that scenario. So I still think in general, Wood is too cheap when you consider the amount of minutes he's playing at the moment as a member of the starting unit. Now you take Luka out of the equation and he becomes way too cheap. So I think, 50 plus fantasy points definitely within his range of outcomes against a bad Thunder team, a Thunder team that also does play somewhat fast. So, I really like him as a pay up option on a slate where we are kind of hurting for star power.
Yeah, this is kind of like the what is Gamora, who is Gamora, why is Gamora? No, it's Christian Wood. And he may actually stay on the court because there really aren't that many options left. Maxi Kleber's out. We already mentioned Dorian Finney-Smith. And it's not like Dwight Powell and any of the other Flotsam and Jetsam there is going to be capable of putting up points. So even Coach Jason Kidd may have to just deal with a less than stellar defensive presence out there. We love him for fantasy because he does get blocks and threes and rebounds, but he's not much of a defender in the real game, and he gets his ass kicked.
Not important.
But whatever, right? This is the new NBA, so it doesn't matter until we get to the playoffs, right? And it doesn't matter that we're in the Wild West for the entire season instead of just the last 6 weeks. So Christian Wood, normally we wrap him in with a bunch of caveats. I don't think that's the issue at all tonight.
Yeah,
and as really you mentioned, he didn't play a ton last night. Plus, he was +7 if I remember off the box score. Because I was looking, I'm like, why didn't he play as much? And then I realized, it's because they're going to rest Luka, so they didn't really need him, etc. there. Because I was like, why did Luka play 39 minutes? Anyway, all righty. On the flip side, SGA.
Well, let's keep going. Let's keep going with Dallas.
You have started. There's more.
I started with Wood, but we got plenty more to go through.
Well, I thought Dinwiddie's an automatic lock in our lineups.
Yeah, Dinwiddie, I think, is one of the best plays on the slate, if not the best play on the slate. He's increased his usage rate by over 7% with Luka off the floor this season, over 1.1 DraftKings points per minute. Should play at least 36 or so minutes in a competitive contest. I think I have him projected right now for close to 44 DraftKings points. So you'll take that every day of the week at 6,600. Tim Hardaway Jr. also an excellent option. His usage rate goes up 6.3% with no Luka. He's a little bit more shot dependent, right? So I'm going to say he has a little bit more bust potential than a guy like Dinwiddie does, because he might go like 3 for 14 from the field, something like that. But clearly he's going to get a few more shot attempts than usual. And if he knocks them down, I think he also has excellent upside. And both of those guys in particular are just way too cheap on FanDuel. You want FanDuel analysis? Here's FanDuel analysis. Spencer Dinwiddie, 6K on FanDuel. way too cheap. Tim Hardaway Jr., 5,400 on FanDuel, way too cheap. So those two guys plus Wood, I think, are the primary spends for Dallas. And then you've got Jaden Hardy, who is the punt play to consider. He is 3,100 on DraftKings, 3,700 on FanDuel. He's been a solid per minute guy this season, 0.94 DraftKings points per minute. And he should be locked into, mid 20s minutes wise. So at a near minimum salary, I think he is another very solid per dollar option to consider for this team.
All right. It's interesting. My Yahoo lineup is actually not going to have Dinwiddie in it, but I'm going to be loading up on the FanDuel. It's just the way the position is working here. He's not going to make the cut. I'm actually a little sad about that. But here we are, and I'm $1 short of Dylan Brooks, so I'm going to have to settle. It's either going to be DeAndre Hunter or Norman Powell, but I'll just put in Hunter there for now. We cover all sites here, not just DraftKings, not just FanDuel, not just Yahoo, but of course, No House Advantage. We've got his BetMGM deal we'll talk about here in a minute. But first, Matt is going to take a deep breath and talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's going to bring up Josh Giddey. He's going to be talking about Jalen without the Y, Williams. He's playing some heavy minutes in his last 13 games. He has a per 36 rebound rate of 4.9. You can still get that over at BetMGM 3.5. It's a minus 145. Put that in the same game parlay and have some fun with it. I feel good about that. But take us through the Thunder.
Yeah, the Thunder kind of fall into that same discussion point as a team like Brooklyn or Miami, where I think that some of these guys are too cheap for most slates, but we're not getting enough value with them at the moment. SGA clearly worth considering on this slate. We need studs. We need raw points, and SGA can pile them up as well as anybody else on this slate. So from a pure ceiling perspective, he has to be considered one of the top players today. Definitely don't mind using him at 10K. After that, though, is where my interest on the Thunder kind of declines. Josh Giddey has been playing great basketball of late. There's no denying that fact, but I don't really want to pay 7K for him when the team is at full strength. I think that if I was going to play someone on the Thunder other than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it would be somebody like Isaiah Joe, who has been delivering excellent per minute production at a pretty cheap price tag, or somebody like Trey Mann, very similar boat. But again, those guys kind of just get hurt by the fact that there are so many stronger value plays to consider tonight.
All right. Sorry, I had to go take a spin through my ESPN teams. I've got 3 Roto teams. All 3 have Tyus Jones on there. 2 of them do have Ja Morant, but I purposely picked up Ty Jones. And then whenever I have a spot, I had Naz Reid there for a while, because when you're doing these rotisserie season long leagues, you can pick up some excellent starts from some of these players. Those are 2 of the more dynamic ones. Look at that. We're talking season long stuff.
EMac, you
on ESPN, man. We're going everywhere.
You're so great, man. you play every DFS slate in every DFS sport, and yet you still have time to play in rotisserie season long leagues.
It's a long-standing one. A bunch of us dinosaurs that started gaming together back in the early 2000s on DFS or on ESPN, well before DFS was invented. We still hang out there. I'm one of the younger ones. Let's just say, sadly, we pour one out about once a year for one of our members who is they're playing the big fantasy game in the sky. But we just had a guy pass away. Meatloaf was in our league for a long time too. Michael O'Day. That Meatloaf,
real Meatloaf,
the singer Meatloaf. Yeah. So anyway, that's a long time ago. All right. This is still a juicy game. This is still a very tasty game, even with all of the Memphis activity here, I think. Anything else you want to put a bow on here with this?
No, let's get on to the next one.
All righty. Let's
maneuver our way there to Minnesota and Houston. This game did not really appear in any of my early crunches. It didn't make it into my article, partly because Houston has everybody back. We saw Jayshawn Tate join or play for the first time in seemingly forever last night or 2 nights ago. The days are all still running together. And then on the Houston or the Minnesota side, everybody's kind of appropriately priced at this point because we've had their various injuries have been accounted for. Naz Reid is a little dinged up. Jordan McLaughlin's out. He's been out for a while now. You've got Anthony Edwards. He's been upgraded to probable. He's kind of interesting. I see we got some super chats. We'll get them after we talk about this game, Chris. But this one isn't overly exciting, despite having a 231 implied point total here. Am I missing anything, or is this just going to be another one of those where, well, if 1 or 2 people from this game end up in my roster, I'm not going to be sad, but I don't know who to target. Maybe Rudy Gobert, maybe.
Yeah, I think Rudy Gobert is fine. You said that you saw that Anthony Edwards was upgraded to probable.
Yes.
Yeah,
I did
all right.
not.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, dude, I hadn't confirmed it. I'm just looking at an aggregator site that didn't have a description. I can go confirm that if you'd like me to.
Yeah, because what I had seen was he told reporters that he did not expect to play on Sunday. So that's the only reason why I pushed back slightly.
Nope, totally good. So 10 minutes before 5, he was upgraded to probable.
Okay.
The courtesy of Roto World. This is from Lashard Binkley on Twitter. Edwards has been able to play through his hip issue recently. It appears he will do so Sunday. So look for him to be in his usual place in the starting lineup if the hip doesn't give him any issues. So he will do. It's still going to be a warm up. It's still going to be an upgrade, but it looks like he's trending positively. This is Sunday in the NBA. At least one key player. We're going to get news after lock that they're sitting tonight unexpectedly.
So, I actually think that makes Anthony Edwards an interesting pay up target. This matchup, we know it's a good matchup, right? Houston has played no defense really for ever, since Hakeem left. So they're 28th, I want to say, in defensive efficiency this season. And people like me who saw the quote that Anthony Edwards was not expected to play today, they are not going to circle back and put him into their lineups. So I think Edwards now becomes a very solid GPP target. Probably will check in with lower ownership than he should. Rudy Gobert, I think, is a very strong center play at 6,900. I don't think he has been priced up really to reflect the fact that the team is playing without, Karl Anthony Towns and with a banged up Naz Reid at this point. So I think Gobert is locked into, low 30s minutes, and he has taken a step forward with his game in recent days. So I'm buying it. I think, when you look at what type of player he was in Utah for all those years, I think that what he's done the past couple of days doesn't feel all that out of character for me. So I'm totally okay with him. After that, it gets hard to parse through some of these players. I mean, Taurean Prince returned recently. He's priced at 3,200. He played 26 minutes in their last game. Maybe you can look to him for some value, but not to sound like a broken record, don't play Taurean Prince at 3,200 when you can play some of these other guys that we have talked about and will talk about.
Yes. Anything else you want to hit on from this game?
On Houston's another team that I think the matchup obviously is a little bit less appealing for them. I always have some interest in Şengün. He's starting to trend back in the right direction. It looks like he got up to 32.5 minutes in their last game, finished with 46 DraftKings points. I'm always going to chase his upside, right? We know that from a per minute standpoint, he's one of the best in the business, 1.21 DraftKings points per minute. So on nights when he does hit a minute ceiling, I think he clearly has upside at his current price tag. So I'll chase some of that upside there.
All right. Are we ready for the next one here? Because we're going to work in some super chats here for some of our other games, because we've got some player questions that will be relevant here. So Cleveland -3.5 favorites heading into Phoenix here. This game is going to be interesting. We've got a very good Cleveland defense. We have Darius Garland, who missed a few games with the thumb issue, came back and played, listed as questionable. I'm expecting he's going to play as long as he goes through warmups just fine, doesn't re-aggravate anything, etc. He should be good, but he's carrying that Q tag because they haven't played in a couple days. Donovan Mitchell is back. He was out the last game. So those guys are both looking pretty good. Mitchell turns into a pivot away from SGA, etc. So he's in Trae Young, who we'll talk about. Now, from Cleveland, from Cleveland, they still don't have Dean Wade and Dylan Windler, et cetera, but they're mostly healthy at this point. So that kind of it makes their front court less appealing. It means Shetty Osman probably drops out of the rotation. It means Isaac Okoro not going to get the same minutes that he does. So we're looking at their backcourt at this point. Phoenix is rather intriguing as well, because no Cam Johnson, no Cam Payne, no Devin Booker, and no Chris Paul. He left the last game with a hip issue and wasn't able to return. He's been ruled out tonight as well. So we've got Dwayne Washington. Oh boy, oh joy, the Dwayne Washington slappies. I will be joining them on Yahoo, where he is $10. But that's kind of our first question here is Dylan Brooks and Landry Shamet versus John Collins and Dwayne Washington. So
I would probably take the Dylan Brooks side. Okay. I think that you're getting a little bit more value with the other piece, right? I think both guys on the Suns are strong options, but I'll take Dylan Brooks without John Morant over John Collins with, the current Atlanta situation. So I will lean that way.
All right. And then Craig has a super chat, Tim Hardaway versus Mikal Bridges. And then I'm going to let you turn you loose on this game. But are you leaning Hardaway or Bridges? For me, I'm actually going a little bit towards Hardaway here. Bridges, awesome defender, but he just does a little bit of everything other than scoring. And by a little bit of everything, damn, his props are always so enticing with like 2.5 or 3.5 assists, 3.5 or 4.5 rebounds, and he never gets there. Damn it! So that's my take on Mikal Bridges when he puts up a 40 burger tonight. If that's what costs it for me tonight, so be it. I just can't in good conscience go to Mikal Bridges, so I would lean towards Mr. Hardaway. The floor is yours.
I'll take Tim Hardaway's side in that one too. I think Bridges is probably a little bit safer, but I think Hardaway has a little bit more upside. Bridges, he did have 7 assists in their last game. He got to play a little bit more as like a primary distributor with all of their normal top guards out of the lineup. But I just don't know how sustainable that is, right? Like I think Dwayne Washington is going to be that guy for the most part tonight. I still think Miles Bridges is a solid play at 5,900 on DraftKings, but he's averaged 0.8 DraftKings points per minute with the Suns' big 3 guys with Payne, with Paul, and Booker off the floor. So, we're not talking about a huge spike in productivity. Miles Bridges is Miles Bridges. He's not going to do a whole lot more on this slate.
Best part is, though, we're going to talk about him ad nauseum in the playoffs because he gets tons of minutes. He's out on the court. His price is relaxed, right? Different context tonight. And this is a great situation for him. Playoffs, postseason, different animal. But that's, again, if this is all context. And I just want to, chime in and remind everybody, this is why we talk through this stuff. This is why we do the deeper dive, the NBA strategy show, all that stuff. Yeah, it changes on a dime in the NBA. We're teaching you how to read slates.
We're teaching you how to quickly process information, and then you can in turn use this on the showdown slates or single game slates or the sub slates or the late slates or whatever it is. This is where you can find that ever elusive edge. It's understanding how to react to this various news, where there's not just a bunch of free content sitting out there that's analyzing it. It doesn't exist. It's just on the main slates. So that's kind of why we belabor these points. All right, back to Matt.
So let's I'll start with the Cleveland side here. I think you broke that down pretty thoroughly. You're playing a little bit of Mitchell. I mean, Mitchell would get a big bump if Garland is ruled out, but I'm with you. I expect Garland to be in the lineup. That kind of eliminates Karis LeVert from DFS relevance. He'll go back to the bench, and he will not be playing the same minutes that he has been with one of Garland or Mitchell out of the lineup. So I think Garland kind of fits the same mold as Anthony Edwards, not as much upside, but I do think that he's going to be relatively low owned on a slate where we need just raw points. So I kind of like Garland as a contrarian stud target. I think Mitchell's ownership should be pretty reasonable too, because he is pretty egregiously overpriced at 9,500 on DraftKings. So again, we're looking for guys to pay up for, and I think that both of those dudes fit the description when you factor in ownership. But that's really about it for me on the Cleveland side.
All
For
right.
Phoenix, that's where
here's one to kick you off from the claw. Torrey Craig or Dwayne Washington Jr.?
Definitely Washington. I have Washington as the best per dollar option on the Suns tonight. Even projected for just 25 minutes, I think he's the best per dollar option on the Suns. He's already been a really good per minute producer. He's averaging 1.33 DraftKings points per minute over the past month. When you take all of the Suns guards off the floor, he's averaging 1.17 DraftKings points per minute overall. He's seen a 3.8% usage bump in that situation. I think that Dwayne Washington is a really strong option. I also really like Landry Shamet. He's seen the biggest usage bump with those three guys off the floor, 6.6%. Not quite as much per minute upside as Washington, but the minute floor should be a lot safer, right? He's going to play into the 30s minute wise and potentially well into the 30s. So I think he is strong. Damian Lee, I think, is completely fine from just another guy that's going to see a ton of minutes, and he's priced very cheaply at 3,300. He is poor as a per minute producer. There's no denying that fact, but 3,300 for a guy that might see 30 minutes. Sure. I'll take that every day. And DeAndre Ayton. Yes, please. He's already kind of been showing an increased ceiling, increased offensive aggression. He posted a 31% usage rate in their last game with Chris Paul leaving early. I think his usage rate gets a nice spike today, so I like him as well. And then Torrey Craig, Miles Bridges, those guys are also in play for me too, but they are lower priorities.
All right, that's going to bring us to our final game of the night. I want to quickly tell you about how you can get 2 free months of Stokastic Premium. This is with
EMac.
This is with the BetMGM promo here. If you sign into a Stokastic account, you need to have an account, not an active subscription. But if you have a Stokastic account, log into that. You can click the link below us here in the YouTube channel, or you can click on any of the buttons on the Stokastic website that say BetMGM. That will take you over to BetMGM, and here's the important part. That's going to tag you with our URL. It's going to say you came from Stokastic, and this is the important part, because when you create your account at BetMGM, you put in $10, make a $10 wager. As soon as that settles, you're going to get 2 months of Stokastic Premium. How that works is they're going to give you a promo code. It's going to pop up on your BetMGM screen after your bet settles, and it's also going to be, if you click out of it like I did, it's still going to be in your BetMGM inbox. That's over there on the site. So you're going to get that when you come back to Stokastic. You just put that code in, and it'll give you 2 free months, no charge, 2 free months of all access. Fantasy Cruncher is separate. The other thing that they're doing at BetMGM is your first bet. So it could be that $10 bet, or you can do it up to $1,000 is going to be risk-free. So what happens with that is you do the risk-free bets. If you lose, you will get bet credits back that you have a week to use. If you win, then yay, you're off and running. So I did the $1,000. I lost. I got 5 $200 bet credits that I had to use. I think I had 7 or 8 days to use them. So that was I thought that was worthwhile. I took a slightly not even an aggressive approach, lost on what I thought was a fluky play, but it's okay. I've fought my way back, and now I'm above what I had deposited. As long as my parlay comes through here with Green Bay winning tonight, this is going to be important. I will be back to break even. Or actually well above it. But in any event, that was the BetMGM. So I'm going to bring us back to present day. Matt, we've got one more super chat here, and then we'll talk about the final game of the night. But this is for DK tiers. So we're going to do 3 2v2s. Okay, DK scoring.
3 2v2s.
3 2v2s. We're just going to one or the other. Okay.
Okay.
Meaning, I guess 1v1s, 3 1v1s. Giddy or Ayton? And I hope I'm doing this correct, kids do.
Ayton for me.
Okay. Triple J or Gobert?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll take Triple J in that one.
Okay. And then Bane or Dinwiddie? I would go Bane.
Prediction? Bane.
Very good. different salary, different all that in regular DFS, but raw points, I'd rather have Bane in that. So hopefully I did that correctly, how you had that set up, kids do. Hopefully you did well. And Malakar, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to besmirch the Lions. I'm still hoping my Seahawks win, so the Lions.
Don't worry, Malakar. Really I'm on the Lions. I'm on the Lions tonight. If everybody listened to me yesterday when I hopped on, we were talking about I said Titans who covered. I said Derrick Henry over 21.5 rushing attempts. 2 easy ones.
All right. We'll let you get into the last game here. James Magruder got us with the super chat though. So the best options on the first 2 games on DK. Pretty much everybody from Memphis would be the answer there. Everybody else is relatively neutral in the scope of the entire slate. But you're gonna want Bane, Brooks, Triple J, and Tyus Jones are gonna be the ones you want.
So in my projections right now, the top 6 options from the early game all play for Memphis. Tyus Jones, Xavier Tillman, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Santi Aldama, and Triple J.
Rinpack getting my dander up here. He's demanding a Seahawks loss, so this is a win and in playoff game for Sunday Night Football.
I mean, It is what the people want, EMac. There's no denying.
That's not what this people wants. All right. Final game of the night. Biggest question. Do you think do you think Paul George is going to play? He's been, who knows? Clint Capella out. Everybody else good for Atlanta. Nick Batum, Dusty, Luke Kennard, somehow Dusty because he, hurt himself. You got that same injury that Bradley Beal and Fred VanVleet have. It's the big contract. Hurts them every 2 weeks. They got to carry that check to the bank, man. That's the soft tissue injuries they're really hard on the knees. But Paul George, what's going to happen here? Because if he's out, Kawhi's awesome. Brings Marcus Morris really into play. You got Norman Storm and Norman Powell. You got to be careful when you're setting it up because the way that the Stokastic projections are, they want you to play Paul George on FanDuel. So I'm having to make some decisions here as I'm building out my lineup. So what is your call here on Paul George? And then why is Ice Tray amazing tonight?
So yeah, I will be taking some stabs with Paul George. I mean, it's the last game of the night. He's priced at a point where you can easily, like if you have him in a utility spot or even if you have him at a small forward spot, you can just pivot him to Kawhi if he gets ruled out. Like it's a pretty easy 1-for-1 swap in my opinion, but he's not going to catch very much ownership. And if he ends up playing, it's a good differentiating pay up option. Like, I think that is sort of the way that I am approaching this slate is I think a lot of the chalk value is good chalk. I'll be playing a lot of that. and I'll be looking to differentiate with some of the more contrarian studs like a Paul George, like an Anthony Edwards, like a Donovan Mitchell, stuff like that, I think is a good way to try and play all the best plays, but then at the same time, not lock yourself into a 100-way tie.
So here's what I'm doing. I'm removing DeJounte Murray, and I'm removing Kawhi Leonard, and I'm building 25% of my lineups with Paul George, because I can pivot to either of those guys. Leave a little salary on the table. I'm fine with that for the ownership discount. But that's the easy way to do it, considering we're 10 minutes away from the lock. But the FanDuel content is just running rampant on the show tonight.
Other than PG, and I mean, again, like you said, if Paul George sits, then Kawhi Leonard becomes a really strong play at 8,200. We haven't seen like a huge game from Kawhi this season, but clearly the numbers would take a step up with George off the floor. Elsewhere for the Clippers, I think Zubac, I'm going to continue to try to buy low on him. He's 5,100. He's a pretty good permanent producer, right under a fantasy point per minute for the year. The minutes are the big question mark for him. He can play 15 or he can play 35. And if you need proof, just look at his last 3 games, because that's what he has done. He's played 15, 21, and 34 technically. But you never know with him. It's hard. There seems to be no rhyme or reason as to when Zubac plays 35 minutes, but it does happen, and you want to have him in your lineup on nights when it does. If Paul George is in, that's kind of really where I'm focusing my exposure on the Clippers is just him, Kawhi, and Zubac. If George gets ruled out, then you can potentially bring in some Marcus Morris, some Norman Powell, but I think I would still like some of the Suns' value better. All of the Grizzlies' value better. So for the Hawks, Trae Young fits a lot of the same talking points as guys like Shea, as guys like Kevin Durant. Like in a vacuum, is it a good price tag for him? Probably not, but he's got a ceiling, and we need guys with ceilings tonight to surround all these value plays. So totally fine with Trae Young. DeAndre Hunter, probably my favorite option for Atlanta. He has been playing a lot of power forward for them recently. His rebound rate is up in that sample size, and he has scored at least 26 and a half DraftKings points in 3 straight games. With Capella out, I think that continues. I think that, you continue to see some John Collins at the 5, some DeAndre Hunter at the 4, and that ultimately helps both of those players.
All right, look at that. I've uploaded my FanDuel lineups. No pressure. Again, I was telling you before the show, I'm still nervous about the whole upload process. And then last night it kept insisting I was a robot, and I kept having to push the button, and it was annoying the bleep out of me. So I have now moved it to my Windows browser instead of my Chrome browser. It claims I have an ad blocker. I don't, because I don't even add anything extra to my computer. It just stopped working. Very frustrating.
Maybe you are a robot, EMac.
Yeah, there is that possibility.
We got to have you pass the Turing test.
That is a good one. I've been reading up a little bit on AI. It's a little scary, especially now that they were talking about a robot arm that they sat next to a mirror. And ultimately, it was able to recognize itself, which is apparently one of the tests of consciousness. Well, so they call it the animal test. Like, do you recognize that that's you? Is a different thing than like my dog going up and wanting to play with the dog. It's staring back at them in the window or in the mirror, right? It's like, play with me, right? And it's like, no, that's you.
As a quick aside, my mom is a teacher, and she was telling me that they have major issues at their school. One of the things that you have to do as a senior at her high school is you have to write like a thesis paper, like as a college preparation. And there are now AI programs that can write stuff like that for you, and it's not plagiarism because you're not stealing it from anywhere. It's literally being generated by a artificial intelligence. So like, just more proof that kids these days, they have it so damn easy.
Yeah, it's scary because because I've read some of this. I see they're talking about Chat GPT or whatever they're calling it. I think that's how you. I don't know if it's like GIF or Jiffy or what. Right, whatever. I'm assuming we pronounce it GPT, Gipty. I guess maybe we'll use that. It's scary what you can do by just putting in a few concepts and then it utilizes stuff. So I work for a government contractor and we're constantly trying to find people that are good with machine learning and other things like that. But you read what some of the things they can do in their resumes and stuff, and you're just like, oh my God, this is Skynet. It could be a thing before we. Do you think we have Skynet first or the Great Salt Lake disappears in 5 years?
We got a ways to go on the Great Salt Lake, I think.
They said 5 years in the article I read today.
Okay. Oh no, I'm thinking of just the Great Lakes. I got them confused.
Well, we got more, right? It's just like that's an honorary.
Is anybody gonna miss it? Is anybody gonna miss it? Come on.
All right, 4 minutes to go here, and someone said I've missed some chats in Discord. Let me go see if I can find them. I'm horrible with Discord, but I'm going to read these quickly to you. Any love for Okogie as a pivot off Washington? Dwayne?
No. Okogie should see minutes tonight. I just don't think he's very good.
Let's see. Oh, I guess these weren't all pinging for me. Good. Whew. Got a little nervous there because I'm not good with Discord. And like if you have it open, it's pinging, but half the time it's because people are putting in new messages and not because it's hitting you. So there we go. Look at that. 3 minutes to go. I think we have everything. We're gonna find out. Santi Aldama or Xavier Tillman. I'm assuming, or XL man. I'm assuming that meant to be Tillman.
X gonna give it to you. He gonna give it to you. Yeah, for me, it's Xavier Tillman.
I'm going to type that in because it's my filler arc, and that's the first game, and he's going to need it real quick. So there we go. Kyle Anderson, if Anthony Edwards is out, I think Kyle Anderson, no matter what, is a reasonable play in this particular matchup.
He's fine. He doesn't make it move for me. But, you know, the theme of the day, right? Like, 5,300 Kyle Anderson is probably good on most days, but today is not really most days. You've got a lot of really strong value options. So I don't know if he's not really making the cut for me from a value perspective.
Okay. Totally. That's totally fair. That's totally fair. You want to do a little mid-slate action? There you go. There's one of your 8 o'clock plays. Please do hit that like button. Apparently, Laffy was saying something like it adds 2 inches to you if you do it. I'm assuming everybody wants to be taller, right? So let's all hit that like button. We can be taller. You don't have to put lifts in your shoes anymore. I think that's what he was referring to.
Yeah, of course.
Sure. Not entirely sure. My mom's gonna watch this show. The last thing I need is an 80-year-old, soon to be 80-year-old, hearing my horrible jokes from her 50-year-old son. She likes watching these. She's like, who is this Matt LaMarca guy? I kind of like him.
He looks like a
T
woolly
McBee
mammoth.
is watching. T McBee, you're still her favorite. So we're about at lock. One more here. Aldama and Wood or Brooks and THJ.
I'll take the Aldama Wood side.
In. Let's see. I think we're about done. This was nice. This was kind of a what do we call guerrilla marketing, right? We didn't have this show on the schedule, but producer Chris said, "You know what? There's a void. I feel a potential glitch in the matrix here." He saw a cat walk by twice, and he's like, "I need to have an NBA show. I know it's Week 18 NFL." But No House Advantage, you know, they're coming strong here. They're sponsoring these shows. They're sponsoring Live Before Lock NFL style. That's going to be at 7:15 tonight. So you guys will want to tune into that. The last hurrah of the regular season. I'm going from memory, so I don't think it's the right number, but it was just like game 273 or whatever tonight, something like that of the season.
Idea.
So there you go. They want to know if you can do the gritty tonight. I don't know what that means. Is that a dance?
I can't do the gritty.
I know the gritty. Isn't that
That's Justin Jefferson's
Flyers
touchdown dance.
Oh, it's whose touchdown?
Justin Jefferson.
Oh, okay. No, I know Gritty. I think it's the mascot for the Flyers, right?
That's also true. Yes.
Okay.
Not related.
Yes. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for us. So hit that thumbs up. We got 1,000 people watching. Let's get us up over 250. Hit that up on the way out, because we jumped on a Sunday for you. So we're here. But shout out to Chris, producer Chris, for making this all happen. Thank you to Matt. You can find him at Twitter, or on Twitter at Matt LaMarca. I am at EMac DFS. Of course, it is Stokastic _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.